Tilen is entrepreneur, a food scientist, and a lecturer. With a background in food science, he created a company that is thriving in the production of sustainable food. Tilen, could you introduce us to Juicy Marble's work, please?
Cool. Hi, everyone. I certainly can. So let me. I do have a presentation, but it's more of a framework than anything else. Let's see if I do this. So hi, I'm Tilen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Juicy Marbles. We are the creators of world's first plant-based filet mignon, if not steak altogether. This is how our product looks like currently. So it's a replica of the most prestigious piece of the cow. Usually a cow produces only about 3 kilos of this product. So imagine you have to kill an animal of 500 kilos to harvest 3 kilos. We basically can convert all the material in just this product. It's based on soy, and it uses no novel ingredients, but all our know-how and IP is in the processing of those relatively standard ingredients. The specialty is the patent-pending assembly process. We call it a 3D tissue assembly process, in which we basically assemble the muscle tissue by tissue. It took us about 18 months from the concept to where we are now. We are just starting the production in our new production facility, which is located in Slovenia. It took us about 18 months. We went full-on startup mode. So we applied with a prototype into Y Combinator. Y Combinator is one of the world's biggest accelerators. And we luckily got in. It helped us quite some areas. But I think the biggest advice, the biggest takeaway we got from that was the advice that says, don't do things that don't scale. Myself, as a food scientist, as a food scientist, you're often told that, you should be doing things that are easy to manufacture and easy to scale. And obviously, when you start thinking about the business idea in the food space, naturally, our instinct was, let's do something that we can scale easy, something that can be produced in quantities in an easy way. But the feedback from the market and the mentoring from YC showed us that, yes, indeed, we can relax and make something that's difficult to do in the beginning, and then later on figure out a way of how to scale it. We also went and validated that there is demand quite soon. So basically, we set up production, a makeshift production in a small lab that we created, got that lab certified to produce food in it, and launched the product basically, I would say almost out of a modified garage. But it allowed us to validate that people actually want to buy this product. So that happened in February and March last year, or actually March last year. And ever since, we've been thinking and constructing our new factory, which will go online in the next week. So in terms of the properties of the product, we basically, every plant-based company, I think, in the recent years is trying to match the experience of the meat they're trying to replace. We saw salmon just before. Obviously, it has the property, the color, the taste. And most of the companies in the plant-based space are currently trying to recreate the the meat counterpart. My opinion is that this is only a intermediate phase in which we are getting the consumer accustomed to experiencing different textures and flavors that are maybe not exactly the same as the real thing, but often are better than the real thing, right? So we like to describe our product with, and this is also one of the tactic we try to emphasize in our marketing communication is, you know, there are certain properties of plant-based meat replacements that are obviously and objectively better than the meat counterparts. You know, there's the obvious ones, such as, you know, no saturated fats, no cholesterol, etc., all the health aspects. But there's also other, and obviously the sustainability, but there's also like other factors that are maybe a little bit more creative. But you could make the claim that your product is superior to real meat. For example, if you have a steak like that, if you are a little bit unlucky, you might get a tougher piece of the meat, or maybe a part of the fascia, or a part of like a fat is really stiff. With our product, you don't have that. You know, it's always going to be perfect. It's always going to be without any imperfections in terms of the texture in your mouth. One other area is, if you, I don't know how many of you here eat meat, but like if you chew on a real steak for too long, it gets dry and sawdusty, and you almost have to balance, you know, will I swallow it sooner, like unchewed, or will I chew it to the end and have the unpleasant chewing experience? And with our product, you don't have that. You know, this was the question that you know, I was trying to answer with the last 5 minutes of the conversation. You know, what does it take for you to validate that people want to have your product, and you're not sure on how to make it? And you basically go by a step of elimination. So how do you eliminate the risk of not knowing if somebody wants to buy it? You basically make a prototype and you try to sell it. You try to get some sales for that prototype. How do you go about explaining the product to your customers? Obviously, there's photography, there's all of that, but often people are reluctant to try plant-based alternatives because they have certain preconceptions in their head of how this is going to taste like, why this is bad, and sometimes you have to actually teach the customer to appreciate your product for different reasons, right? And what I'm trying to say, there's not always just the environmental and health aspects, but you know, sometimes it's also the preparation aspects. So this is, for example, how our product looks when it's being prepared, when it's being roasted. Yeah, so essentially, this is our story in short. Right now, I only have an old picture of the facility. This is now our 600 square meter facility that we are putting online next week. But and you know, we are trying to be funny. But I think what I was talking about before is this, right? So we think that the plant-based technologies will help us build the bridge between the believers, and currently plant-based products are mostly bought by believers, but for sure they are created by believers. And there's the mass market. You know, even my predecessor was talking about the vastness of the fish protein market. This market is really huge, and I think we currently have a chasm in between who the products can reach and who the products should reach. And the chasm, this giant hole, cannot just be crossed with plain, just being out there, but we have to teach the customer on how to perceive these products and make the products better, not necessarily by the standards that the meat set, but like better objectively, or in different ways better. So currently we are trying to cross the chasm by building enough capacity to sell the product, and also by thinking of how we can communicate and market the product to the people, so that they can also change their mind, or change their mind, educate themselves, and set expectations in a different way. This is my really short and confusing presentation for today. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you for a great presentation. It's really impressive to see you develop a technology that enables the production of plant-based whole cuts. We have a few questions from the audience now. First question is, where do you get soy from your product?
Okay, soy. Soy, we have to source European soy, and that European soy is obviously GMO free, because it has to be for human consumption. The most soy we currently use comes from either Serbia, or some of it comes from Poland.
Okay, thank you. When do you plan to enter the market, and where with this product?
Mm-hmm. So we are our go-to-market plans are to launch in 1 or 2 European markets, most likely Switzerland, to start with, in the next 3 months, in retail, but we are aiming to be available online again in less than a month.
We are looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can try your product someday.
Sure. I'm sure you will be able to, because the current pricing that's on the website is still a remain of the old one. Will be much more competitive now, because we have higher production capacity.
Yeah. We have some more questions. Looking forward to learn more about the technology. What are the main highlights of it? How does it compare with extrusion? Do you need metal cellulose for your formulation?
Yeah, sure. You know, our production process is let's say the magic of the process is actually after the texturization part. So, you know, you could say we are, you know, we could theoretically use any, not any, but like, you know, there are a few options on how you go about texturing the protein. Obviously, we are using our own formulation, and this formulation is, yes, it does indeed include methyl cellulose, and we currently think that is a, let's say, although it's not the cleanest of ingredients if you are following a really clean label aspiration. But then again, we are not targeting super clean eaters with this product. We are targeting people who most likely still eat meat and just want to have healthy alternative with the same satisfaction available at most times.
Yeah. What are questions that you get a lot, but that are comfortable to answer?
Yeah, so I would say we got the 2 questions already. So one is regarding the soy. You know, soy is a polarizing question always, but I think that I heard some predictions that pea is going to be faced similar allergen status as soy in the near future, at least in the European Union, and that you know, the production of soy, the quantities of soy being produced are just bigger than pea. So it's a, let's say, a more reliable ingredient, and objectively, we haven't seen any research that would prove any of the alleged soy nutritional, let's say, problems true. That's the third point, and the final point is, soy is just cool. There's been cars made out of soy. There's ink made out of soy. So it's just a versatile product that can be grown in a relatively inhospitable environment. So it's a really good crop for providing protein to the number of people on this planet. The other question, there's one more uncomfortable question, and that is usually the one that is being asked by meat eaters, and that is why do vegans need this kind of a product, right? So why would somebody that chose not to eat meat still want to eat something that tastes like meat? And this again, I distill this down to the experience. So maybe you're not missing the. For example, myself, I'm not missing the taste of meat, but I am sure missing the texture of meat. So there's different properties, but also different occasions where eating one dish, so the whole table eating one dish or one food would be nice. Like so you don't have to feel excluded or weird when you're eating something with your friends, but in this case everybody could eat the same meal, but sorry about that, it's late in the evening, so it's a bit busy at home. So yeah, that's the other question. Next question.
Can you use other wait a minute, can you use other non-allergenic proteins to make the product?
Sure. You could theoretically make the product out of any plant protein that has the right properties, so the right gelling characteristic, the right melting points and stuff. So we have tried several combinations, but again, sourcing that protein is quite challenging in bigger quantities.
Do you think your method could be used on other kinds of alternative proteins, mycelium, for example, to achieve similar textures?
I don't think so, because mycelium is the point of mycelium is also to not just to provide the protein, but also to provide some of the scaffolding, some of the structure. So if you're building structure with that, why would you then break it up? But we could try. I just don't see the point. Yeah. So yeah.
How important is, in your opinion, brand versus technology?
This depends a little bit on your size and scale, and also how new your technology really is. So at some point, every company in the food sector can decide if they want to be a food production company or if they want to be a brand company, or if they want to be a food production company or a technology company. Of course, you can be both. It's a little bit more difficult. But we noticed that a lot of plant-based brands currently have no technology component. They're just buying off-the-shelf product from bigger manufacturers and doing their brand place on them. There are obviously companies that do both and do both well. And we are geeks, so we do want to be both. Brand is extremely important if you decide to be not just a technology company. So if you want to be a production company, at least in the beginning, when you don't have scale, the only way I think to survive is to have your own hot brand that allows you to capture the biggest percent of the margin that your product is able to create.
Great. We have some final question. Are you looking for student interns? And when are you broadening your team?
Yeah, so we are not actively looking for students, but any interested student is welcome to send us an email at info.juicymarbles.com, and I'm sure we'll reach out and organize a call. We do have currently 2 internships going, and I think there will always be 1 or 2 internships going. So yeah, yes, we are.
Okay, then we're looking for some opportunities in internship in Juicy Marbles. Thank you, Tilen, once again for the presentation and your time.